Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabados of Delmar, together with my co-host Marc Gronich of Statewide News Service and jbiztechvalley.com. We have a very special guest with us, Brian Forte, a Guilderland Town Councilman. Brian, welcome to the Jewish View.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Welcome. Brian, what is you've only been on the town board since 2012.
Correct.
So what's your passion? What got you involved all of a sudden to want to be out there pounding the pavement, getting signatures on petitions, getting the, it's being a town board member. What's your passion?
Well, I've always been involved in public service and serving the people. And
You were a police officer.
I was a police officer in Guilderland for 25 years. I've been a volunteer fireman for 30 years. And my passion was just helping people. And there were some things going on in Guilderland that I didn't like with the board. And being able to retire as a police officer at 25 years, I chose to move into that realm so that I could maybe make some changes in our government and for the betterment of Guilderland.
And what bothered you that made you want to jump in? What was it?
Well, our board seemed to be dysfunctional. We had a couple board members that were completely in opposition of everything that was going on, and government just didn't seem to be moving. And working for the town for 30 years and watching the town and seeing that happen, just it sort of infuriated me that I needed to step up and hopefully help out.
So did you oust an incumbent?
Yes.
Who?
Marc.
Oh, okay, I know him. Yeah. So you were... And,
Marc, I think you know everybody.
Well, I know Marc
There's an office over here in the Capitol District.
Except Brian. I've never met Brian, and it's a pleasure to meet you for the show. But I just, do you have certain issues besides government moving forward, which is always a big issue, but are there other, you don't have a committee structure in the town board, right?
Correct.
So what comes up before the town board that really gets you excited or motivated, or that you really say this is passionate for me?
Well, seeing new development. The economy kind of stalled the town a lot, and when new projects come in and come before the board, those are things that really excite me because it kind of stirs momentum in our town, and it'll stir our economy. And obviously, with more business development, it's going to help in reducing school taxes, reducing resident taxes, and help with how the town actually functions. So those type of things. I'm passionate about kids and kids' safety. So looking for new ways to provide things for kids. Our Parks Department just put in are starting a state-of-the-art playground, probably a model for the Capitol District.
Really? What's special about it?
Just the structure of it. It's metal and kids can climb, and it's got safety nets throughout it. So, it's a lot of different activities that I don't think anybody else around here has.
More than just a padded floor?
More than just, or the crumbled wood chips.
I was in the town park in Guilderland with the Friendship Circle last year, and the first time I was there, and it really is, like you say, an incredible place. Because usually, I'm in Delmar, and it's just a flat, you have your ball fields and your tennis courts, which is natural, and even Washington Park in Albany. This really was a very nice, with hills and trails and a lot of different land. I thought it was very special.
We take pride in our park system, and one of the other things was helping to invigorate our parks. We have what's called GPAC, Guilderland Performing Arts Center, which the building itself was modeled after SPAC. It's just a smaller version of SPAC.
Yeah.
And with the economy and not being able to fund, do you fund a police officer? Do you fund money into your parks? Obviously you do public safety before anything else, and so trying to streamline some funding and redo that. Our pool system and our park system can use a little extra funding, so being able to try and help and streamline money towards that.
But in the state budget, there used to be what's called member items, and it used to go to pay for the parks and Little League and give a few tens of thousands of dollars here and there. That doesn't happen anymore. Is there any state money that comes to the town for parks?
Well, we look for grants, obviously. We have a gentleman that's his job is to look for grants. And unfortunately, a town with an economy that we have, and our supervisor has done a fantastic job of keeping our tax rate down and streamlining our budget and making sure that we're able to function with the tax money that we have coming in. Getting that money from the state, it seems to go to more needed communities rather than to somebody like Guilderland that could afford to pay for it themselves. But we have gotten some park money. We have gotten some grants for sidewalks and things in town.
Are you disappointed that there aren't these member items that each legislator could determine in their own district where needs are, and then they can apply within the structure of the state budget to get the money directly for their, whether it's Guilderland or Knox or Byrne or
Sure.
Westerlo? I mean, it's just, are you disappointed that there's not that stream, that revenue stream anymore?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I'd love to get money from the state to be able to do that, but at the same time, I know that they're trying to streamline, New York being one of the highest tax states in the country. I know the state is trying to streamline some of the funding and where the money goes in the state to reduce our taxes, which would be great. So if the state's able to reduce taxes, which keeps people in New York, keeps people in Guilderland, that's a good thing. And if we can try and find money somewhere else, but if they had the money to give, yes, we'd be aggressively going after it.
What is the tax compare? I mean, Guilderland's a nice suburb, and again, like I say, I'm in Delmar. What's the tax structure compared to, I guess we're fairly equal, even though I know Guilderland has 3 times the population of Delmar, but just a nice suburb outside of Albany. That's why I say, in a way, it's equal. I mean, just at first glance. That's why I'm asking the inner workings,
Yeah.
2 nice suburbs right next to each other.
We actually pride ourselves on having the lowest tax rate in the Capital District. Our tax rate's 25 cents a thousand for each homeowner, which is fantastic.
25,
Cents.
not dollars,
Cents.
cents, okay.
I think my tax bill at my house is around was it maybe $100 to $200 for your town tax, and then obviously there's the tax rate for your sewer and water, and there's the tax rate for
County.
Yeah,
your highways. But
And the governor talks about all these taxing agencies, whether it's a lighting district or it's
Right.
something else. He says that can you streamline any of that?
a lot of it is
Consolidate?
A lot of it's consolidated. I believe sewer has to be a separate line item, and I believe your highway tax has to be a separate line
Who
item.
says?
I think that's state statute.
So there you go. The
Yeah.
state should change the statute, then you can consolidate. Okay.
But we can't change,
Right. What
I'm a
state?
local
Right.
politician.
So what's your, so when like Rabbi Simon was saying, when you have a population what's the population of the town?
Roughly 35,000.
35,000.
Really, I thought it was more than.
And Delmar, and
Delmar's-
Bethlehem, the town of
Bethlehem's-
Bethlehem, the town
I said
of,
it's right, then I'm mistaken then. It's fairly equal to Delmar.
it's
Yeah.
Colony
Bethlehem.
that's,
Colony, that's.
is 90,000.
Right.
Yeah,
Colony's
Colony is
90,000.
very, very big, but I
But-
think Guilderland is as big as
But the
Bethlehem, though,
town of Bethlehem's the same size as Guilderland, right?
for the most part.
Approximately.
Well, we're almost 64 square miles.
I meant population-wise.
Population-wise, they're
We're
about
about the same, yeah.
Yeah.
So how many police officers do you have?
There are 35.
35. And how many are on any one shift?
It depends on which shift. Normally four to five, sometimes 6 or 7 on the afternoon shift, which is the
Okay.
busier shift.
And that's to
And
cover 64 square miles?
64 square miles.
Is that doable, or do you need more?
Well, coming from the police world, I always can say they need more, and I have conversations with the chief about that, and we've progressively added a few.
Now you're his boss over here?
Her.
Carol Lawler's the police chief,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, her
So,
boss. I went from being,
subordinate to being her boss, right? Okay.
so we've been friends for years, so we
You got to
get
be
along
nice to
great.
people
Yeah.
on the way up, because you're going to see them on the way down, yeah, okay. So you think you need more than 35 officers for a town that size?
Yeah, I came from the juvenile unit. I was the supervisor of a community service unit, and I was the SRO in the high school, and we did a lot with a little, and those positions have been cut. We went from 2 school resource officers, 1 in the middle school, 1 in the high school, to just 1 covering the entire district. So bringing back juvenile, I know the investigators could use an extra person just because of the caseloads that they have. And we went from, when I started as a police officer back in 1987, there were probably 20 to 30 state troopers out of the Guilderland barracks. We have a barracks in Guilderland.
State police, state troopers, yeah.
Now there's 2.
2 officers for the Guilderland?
2 assigned.
Wow.
Yep. So,
Why is that?
well, the increase in the Guilderland police force.
Well, what was it how many officers were there when you first started?
When I got hired, there were 18.
Okay.
And progressively,
doubled,
they've
pretty
doubled.
much, yeah.
But the town has
The
doubled the
population
population.
didn't double.
It was about 20,000 when I started, and now it's 35, so,
Oh, really? Okay.
yeah.
Juvenile, we talked on this show, we have many different guests, like yourself, from people from school areas, and it's a concern, and you said it was yours, the juvenile, and helping out the kids with the parks. It is for me too, as a rabbi, you help out kids, it's a shame. I mean, I have my different reasons. I'd like to want to hear from yourself. You were riding the beat, you were right in there too. I mean, I also have to deal with people right there, with all their problems. But what would you say is is it worse or better because now, you're not a youngster, you had 25, now 30 years since you started, something like that. What are the problems that are worse, and what would you consider the biggest problems in youth today? Why they're trouble, why there are problems, or maybe it's getting better?
Well,
it's a big question, I know.
It is a big question, and crime and violence seems to have gotten more violent, to say, and I don't know what to attribute that to.
What do you mean more violent? Meaning you see more harsher crimes?
Well, when I was a kid, when I first came on as a police officer, you didn't see school shootings. You didn't see, the things that are going on in the world.
Graffiti was the biggest violent.
Graffiti, and you stole something.
Right.
It's, but now it's the influx of gangs. You never heard of many gangs here.
Even in the suburbs?
Even in the suburbs.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought it was more of an inner city kind of thing.
When I was
Right.
in the school, I had a kid that was a renounced Latin king. He had a manifesto and everything, and he showed it to me. It's, this is Guilderland High School.
Do you have you're talking about crime and all that, but anti-Semitism, is there a lot of, or any anti-Semitism in the town of Guilderland?
There has been. I mean, there's not a lot. I can remember we were talking about the.
Right.
I can't remember one.
Yeah.
One of you guys. I was talking about the synagogue.
The
school.
Shabbos house?
Right.
You mean Shabbos
on
house?
Fuller Road.
Right.
Back when it was the old building, I can remember some anti-Semitism. They sprayed painted the building, and this was years ago. Many years
Right.
ago, but
Okay.
and we had some, skinheads at the Guilderland High School that did some.
They do swastikas.
They
and
did
spray
some
painted.
swastika. They tagged some things, made some comments.
But you don't see people targeting Jewish. I mean, you have a large Jewish population
That's what
in Guilderland, even though you don't only have the one synagogue that's near, or the congregation that's near the University at Albany,
Correct.
Fuller Road.
Right.
But do you find that these skinheads or others are targeting Jewish homes?
No.
Jewish homeowners?
No.
And
No.
robbing, and just because they're Jewish or anything? No.
No, our burglars seem to just hit our high-end houses. They don't know who lives there. They just hit
So
them.
not discriminating
Yeah.
over it.
We had some damage out across from Crossgates is the Jewish cemetery. Years ago, we had some damage done where they went through and they kicked it in.
But it's isolated.
Well, when we interviewed
Right.
them, it's like, were you doing this because it was a Jewish cemetery? He said, no, we're doing it because it's a cemetery, and we had fun kicking over headstones. So
Right.
it really doesn't That doesn't show up
And
that much in
and we've
Guilderland.
seen the Vale Cemetery in Schenectady
Right.
where that's happened, and also Uncle's Oakwood Cemetery
In
in
Troy.
Troy, they've
Right.
done that. So it's just that they see stones and they want to
Yeah, it's-
toss them over.
Yeah.
It's not because they're Jewish stones or anything.
No, no, it's-
Okay. So I just want to make that clear. I just
Yeah.
want to, I don't want people to think that we have a target, on our backs or something.
No, no, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
And how much of a problem is the heroin issue that's been coming up and been prevalent in some of the smaller towns in the Capital District? I mean, just throughout the state also. But is Guilderland not seeing that yet?
Oh,
or-
we've seen some increase of heroin in town. You've had a couple of fatalities from heroin overdoses, and
No one Jewish. No, okay. I'm just joking. Okay.
I mean, listen, it pervades all societies. People
It
used to
does.
always say, really isn't right, it goes the other way, really. They'll say, I says, well, there's a few alcoholics or drug, it goes throughout society. Oh, Jews don't. I says, well, I need funding, some from the social services, to help these. Oh, it doesn't happen to the Jewish people. I says, I'm telling you, it does. It just goes according to society. It's not right.
Yep.
So it goes the other way. Really, it's almost, I feel people have to address the issues, because it's not like, or the Jewish people are rich and hey, there's a lot of poor people that need help, and there's people. So really, it goes the other way. I want to address the issues.
You're right.
It's not nice to say, but these people need help. So either you address the issue or you keep your head in the sand.
How do you address the heroin problem in Guilderland when you hear about it and it maybe comes up maybe at a town board meeting, or maybe you knew about it a few years ago before you retired,
well, when I was the school resource officer and working in my capacity, we try to obviously educate our younger folks that the realities of what heroin does and how bad it can be, and I mean, because it's not as prevalent as it may be in the city or in other communities, it really hasn't come as a town board issue that we've addressed. I talked to our chief of police and I talked to my friends in the department and about their contact, and they are making some progress and arresting some people that are dealing it and working through that avenue, but
Are there meth labs in Guilderland or anything like
not that I know of.
Okay. I mean, I'm just wondering, is marijuana the biggest problem that you might have?
Yeah,
in terms of drugs?
and there are trends with drugs. You have marijuana is always, it's in every community, especially Colorado.
That's right.
It's legal there.
And Washington State, I believe?
Yeah.
Because the two teams in the Super Bowl were from marijuana-approved
Right,
states.
What do you make of the equation between them? I think, really, you're asking questions that really goes probably beyond, correct me if I'm wrong, you were a police officer, you're the expert professional.
Well, that's why they
Yeah, but-
pointed to him, because
I know,
it's
but
not, it's
it's not-
beyond his town board position,
Yeah.
but he has a sensitivity to it
All right,
as
he sees what's
an
happening in
officer.
the street, but
So,
I mean,
for
you're gonna
example,
cut
if
it
he
off.
was,
It's not a city thing,
No.
county or state police. I don't
no, but
know
if
anything.
but for example, if his profession was something different, as a musician, I wouldn't be asking him about
Yeah.
these types of things. I'd
I'm
ask
just
him
saying,
about
but
music.
if you're going to stop it, I'm thinking that it can't be on the city level. It's going to have to. I mean, it's coming
Oh,
from somewhere.
no, but you know
it's-
what?
It's on a state level.
But
Yeah.
some of the best ideas come from the towns, and
Right.
then they suggest it to the state or the feds, and because you're the closest to the problem.
Right.
And that's why most of those ideas that you think come from the state, they really germinate or come from the local level.
Right.
So that's
very
important.
true.
What's your position, or what do you feel about, from a personal point of view? Do you have children? Do you have?
I do.
How many?
I have 3 daughters.
3 daughters. Okay, and you're married,
Mhm.
and you live in
Guilderland.
Yeah. And how old are you?
49.
49. Okay. Well, happy 50th when it
Oh,
comes.
thank you.
Okay.
It's almost here.
What do you think of medical marijuana, legalizing medical marijuana? Is that something that should be?
I've often said, I used to in my police days, I used to talk public policy classes that, marijuana is taught to me is not an addictive drug, and if it can help somebody, what's the harm in allowing people to use it? Especially, I know folks with cancer can get a lot of relief from it, glaucoma issues. I mean, there's a lot of benefits to marijuana that can help people, and if it can help people, we should be letting people, especially people in pain, use something that can help assist them and help them.
And it would be under doctor's control, like morphine for the end of life
Right.
is under doctor's control. You don't hear about a morphine abuse,
No.
but you hear it. But so I think if you have medical marijuana, it's provided, not as a take-home drug, but as in the hospital where you're under medical supervision. I think that's reasonable, also. But I just wanted to get your opinion because they say marijuana is a gateway drug, and I just didn't know if there was a different application for it, if then that makes it a little bit better.
They say it is, but I've never been sold on that, because if it's a non-addicting drug, how can it be a gateway drug?
Is it a non-addicting drug?
That's what I was told
Marijuana?
in my training, yes.
Okay.
I also have a different perspective. Again, I'm a rabbi and not a police officer, but I do visit people in prisons and jail in the statewide. And, it's interesting because usually you'd think people come to my congregation, they're more the conservative side, traditional side. And that's one thing I argue with them, and they say, well, we should legalize it altogether, like Colorado and Washington. You know how much money we would bring in, and, a $1 billion industry, we would control it, over the... I says, I see the harm that is done. So sometimes, you have a different perspective. I mean, a police officer, you see, you see, guns, and another person says, well, I go hunting, what's wrong with a gun? And then you say, well, I saw, people dead with guns. So again, you have a skewed perspective, and I also, I don't deal with it in parties, to say the least. I don't use it, God forbid. But I do see what it does to people, and I said, oh man, this is terrible.
Let me ask you, because one of the biggest areas of pride for the town of Guilderland is education. The schools, you have 3 daughters, so they must be in the public school system.
They're out.
They're out?
Yes.
49, oh, okay. Okay, I was trying to do the math, and I figured, you might have at least...
My oldest is 24. She's a graduate of St. Rose.
I was going to ask you about the Common Core, but I guess that's personally not relevant, but...
Not really, not for my kids. I try to not follow it that much.
Okay, because it really doesn't impact you on the town board,
No.
but I thought maybe on a personal level it
Yeah.
might impact you.
Does the town board have anything to do with like the school system? So really
Nothing at all.
Really, so it's really not your voice or
Right,
anything?
we're totally separate boards.
They come there to complain.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. People think that we do their tax, the tax levy for the school district, and they blame the town for the high rate of school taxes, and we actually have nothing to do with it.
You have property taxes that you have to deal with.
Property tax,
But the
right.
school taxes are a school board issue,
Really?
and that's separately elected body, so
Right.
what can I tell you? So juvenile justice, and so the youngsters and crime are important for
Yep.
you on the town board. What other issues are important that you really feel passionate about?
Well, public safety, obviously, our park system. I think parks are a good reflection of a town and their government. And
What's happening with when the state had that exam at the Farnsworth Middle School, I believe, and they tore up all the grass and everything? What's the town board's position on what should happen? I know it's a school board issue, but how do you feel? I mean, do you feel violated that this is something that the town paid for, and what's going to happen?
well, hopefully the school district will be able to recoup whatever it costs to fix that from the state or from the insurance company that covers that. Obviously as a town board member, I was kind of upset to the fact that we weren't notified, and we had to pull our resources, our police officers that were working the streets, in there for an hour to direct traffic. So now we have 2 committed police officers who, can't patrol the streets and do their job because they have to direct traffic for that event.
And you only have 4 on at a shift.
Right.
So you had half of the force was directing traffic.
Covering 64 square miles,
That's
35,000 people. So those kind of issues are the things that affect us, and parking, and obviously we got a lot of complaints from all the neighborhood along there where people are parking along the road, and
I heard it was a mess. I mean,
yes,
in terms,
it's a complete mess.
So what do you do to correct it? What do you do not to have that happen again?
Well, we work very closely with our superintendent of schools and the school board, and normally, an event like that, they would call ahead to our police chief to schedule, or even a lot of times they fund a police officer to be there. So the school district would pay the town to have a police officer there. In this case, I think everybody was blindsided by the fact that they didn't know that many people were coming. They assumed it was going to be 500. They've had classes or testing there before, and there's been no problems. Just this time, all of a sudden, they had a huge influx, and whether it was the Civil Service Commission that didn't call the school to let them know, or just somebody dropped the ball, but I think it was an isolated incident because we normally have a great relationship with, the school board and the superintendent. And she always makes us aware of anything that we need to take care of beforehand. So.
There was cross gates is a big piece of the town.
It
and
is.
I remember being at University of Albany when that was Pine Bush area.
Yep.
What's what's the impact that cross gates has had over the past 30 years? That you could see, being that for most of that time you were an officer, is it good, bad? Are you happy it's there? Are you not happy? Do you have buyer's remorse?
No, I think Crossgates all in all has been good for the town. It brings a lot of revenue in between tax dollars and sales tax revenue. There is some burden, which they compensate for. They pay for, a police officer as part of their special use permit. So it does bring in a lot of crime. I mean, you bring a shopping mall that big, you're going to have the crimes that go with having a shopping mall there.
And then they have their own mall cops, right?
So they have security there.
That's
right.
security, but I call them mall cops, yeah.
But they can't arrest anybody, can they?
No,
But
they have no
but they carry something.
They have handcuffs and they have any.
They don't have tasers?
No.
No, okay, just handcuffs
No,
and a
okay.
baton like in England?
No, they're not supposed to, but
Oh, okay. Like
and they're just there as an agent of the
Yeah.
mall to keep peace in the mall until, if it's a situation that needs the police, they call the police and we come. And then they pay for additional police officers like on weekends and things. And we've had our ups and downs in the mall, but all in all, I think it's a good piece for the town. It draws people in and draws people to Guilderland. And
Are you a nature lover? I mean, because it took a lot of the pine bush away also, and I know the Carner blue butterfly wasn't totally extinct by having the mall there, but it was endangered. And
I'm not sure. I think there's a lot of pine bush left.
Yeah,
I mean,
there is.
Hundreds of acres that they have, so I don't think it did any detriment to the pine bush. And they've restored a lot of areas, especially taking over the old Sefcu Bank,
Right.
to restore some of the nature trails, and they've made a really nice.
The Discovery Center.
Right.
Yes, we had the head of the Discovery
Yeah.
Center on, so
Yeah.
as one of our guests, so that's good.
All right, it was very interesting, Brian. Thank you. We're out of time.
No, that was quick.
That was very
And listen, we're looking for better, bigger things from you. I mean, maybe
Okay.
you aspire to even more things, but we'll have you back and
Terrific.
tell us what's happening in Guilderland. And we only give you always a good blessing that you're going from one thing to another. Should keep on growing and with everything with good health.
Absolutely. Thanks. for
Thank you
coming.
very much.